is it current fourth graders?
Fifth grade.
So our current fourth and fifth and sixth, these are the kids. We want to really look at their changes and the amount of growth that they were making, because they were the ones that went through COVID. They were the ones that went through the fire. They're the ones that went to Taylorsville. Then they finally came here and they finally had a stable situation with solid grade levels. And we can see the impact that it's had on them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that was a great presentation. Thanks so much. So we're going to move on to public input. There is a mic on the podium that I'll ask you to use. Leslie is going to be our timer again, and she's going to speak, you know, when you have 30 seconds left, and then when you're out of time, because I know people are reading it, they can't see the white piece of paper that we show that says you're about out of time. There's a 3-minute time limit for each person who addresses the governing board during public input. Public comment will be honored by participants attending in person or by submitting an email written to Patty prior to 2 p.m. the next day of the meeting. And then there's a 3-minute limit, 20-minute limit per topic. So as people have a topic, I'll kind of categorize them. My goal is for everybody to be able to comment who wants to. So I have cards here. If somebody didn't put one up here, but they want to, you're welcome to do that. And we'll start with Jolene.
Use your mic.
You may.
Good evening. I'm going to speak from here because I want to look at all of you instead of addressing the board. So I'm Jolene Klein, and I've had the privilege of serving on the school board for 2 terms. When my second term concluded in 2024, no one from my district stepped up to fill the open position. So after the election period passed, I volunteered again. And I did that because I love my community, especially the families that make it so special. And I wanted Eastern Plumas County to have representation on this board. My husband and I were fortunate to raise our 4 sons in the beautiful mountain town of Portola, supported by the people of greater Eastern Plumas County. And for that, I am so grateful. Over the past 6 months, I've had numerous conversations with the district employees, with parents, grandparents, and friends, and at least 7 that I can specifically recall where individuals shared concerns about issues within our district and where they prefaced their words by asking that I keep the information confidential, which I honor completely unless there's a risk to a child's safety. Everyone deserves a safe place to speak openly, and I will always listen with respect and compassion. However, having said that, what concerns me is that in each of these conversations, the individuals admitted that they chose not to formally report problems they witnessed firsthand out of fear. And while I understand that concern and the reality that may go with it, we now find ourselves struggling to recover from a serious financial crisis, fighting to preserve an innovative and high-quality education for the children of Plumas County, and striving to create a work environment that attracts and retains the top-tier educators and support staff, because people who had firsthand information didn't speak up. And there's times when doing the right thing is difficult, it's uncomfortable, it's unpopular, but it must be done. And all of us, everyone in this room, must be willing to step up, to be brave, and to report concerns when we witness them so corrective action can be taken. I'm not asking anyone to spread opinion or hearsay. I'm not suggesting we turn to social media to air grievances, but when we see something firsthand that threatens the integrity of our schools, we have the responsibility to speak up. And please know this, if anyone shares a difficult or concerning personal experience with me directly, I'll be an advocate for you. I don't back down from difficult challenges. I'm not afraid to stand up for what's right. And my priority is and will always be the students of Plumas County, whether they attend public, private, charter, or homeschool kids. For over 2 decades, I've proudly worn my name on my shirt, which is also my business name. I'm not hard to find. I'm always open to conversation. We have to move forward together. We have to be proactive. We need to be courageous. Let's report concerns immediately so we can address them head on. And finally, I just want to acknowledge the many dedicated and hardworking employees in our schools that are in this room, some of which I worked with when I was an employee here, actually in Portola mostly. The children of Plumas County still have the opportunity to receive a fantastic education, and families still can build a wonderful life here. And I believe that with my whole heart. Thank you.
Chanel Moore.
Okay, super excited to go first. Hello, my name is Chanel Moeller. I am a community member here in Greenville, Parents Club Secretary, an active volunteer at Greenville Elementary, and most importantly, a mother. I am one of the many people who lost everything in the Dixie Fire. After that loss, my husband and I spent many nights discussing on what we were possibly going to do. In the end, we chose to stay and help be part of why this town will make its comeback. After years of surviving, we are finally back on our property and our new home. Never after all that did I think we were going to have to survive another loss of possibly teachers and ultimately our school. Our valley is full of amazing, talented, strong people, and we deserve to not be dismissed as not important or relevant. I hope you all can see the value of everyone here today and start having Greenville be important when making decisions. Our school and all its wonderful teachers are such a staple to this community. Please don't have our children endure any more loss. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Devin Craig. I currently work as an English and drama teacher at Chester Junior Senior High School. My hope is to continue my work at this site for many years to come. I want to take a moment to thank you all for listening, to thank the community for coming out in support of our schools, our teachers, our classified staff, and our administrators. Before I get into my concerns about potential layoffs at my site, I just want to stand in absolute solidarity with everyone who came to speak at last week's emergency board meeting and earlier in this presentation. All of the teachers at Greenville Elementary made a strong case that their school should not be altered in any way that would impede the progress they have made since the Dixie Fire. A tragedy that was out of their control. Unlike the tragedy that faces us now, which is in the control of the board and the district office, although potentially not for too much longer. They have made unmistakable academic progress. The tragedy that stands before us now, however, was and still is in your control. The people working on the budget actively as part of their, and the people working on the budget actively as part of their official duties. The 23-24 audit has shown us that there was a pattern of mistakes in the accounting of the district's finances. Looking at other districts of similar sizes, namely Red Bluff and Lassen, our district staffing is larger in comparison. We have 4 people in our HR department. Comparable districts have 1 or 2. We have several specialized accounting and business related positions compared to, again, 1 or 2 in comparable districts. Also, we know that money is not entirely accounted for and records may be incomplete. The board and the district have been largely unable or unwilling to share that information with us. I suspect this is due to the fact that they do not have all the information necessarily. Thus, the Fiscal Crisis Management Assistant Team, FCMAT, is here to help them sort it out. And hopefully, with some hard work and tough decisions, we can avoid state control of our district. But that's not at all guaranteed. And according to Michael Fine, the corporate executive officer of FCMAT, most of the 7 districts in financial crisis will work their way off the negative list. One of the 2 that probably won't is Plymouth Unified. We're very concerned about Plymouth with on. They have already borrowed to a point that they can't pay back. There has been some finessing of the data to make it look better than it is. This tragedy, rather than falling on the backs of those most responsible, seems to be coming at the expense of our cook managers, our healthcare workers, including a licensed vocational nurse and 2 certificated student nurses.
3 minutes.
Sorry. All right, I'll try to go through quickly. Custodians, paraeducators, and enrichment specialists, and activity specialists, teachers, and most importantly, at the expense of great educators, which will negatively impact the student population. One of those educators I want to speak about now. I won't name her because she intends to fight for herself, but if you know, you know. This educator has spearheaded an intervention program at Chester Junior Senior High School that has seen tremendous growth in reading levels among our middle school students, which sets the school up for success as these students move up through the grade levels. Last year, mid-year, about 50% of our middle school students were 3 or more grade levels below in reading. That number is down to less than 25%, according to our current diagnostic results. These numbers are the lowest they've been since the 21-22 school year. Additionally, for the same group of students, the number at or above grade level has increased from less than 10% to over 25%. I would largely attribute this to the Reading Rewards program, which started this year. More than that, this educator knows her students. To quote one of them, Laura Bischoff, she is in tune with the student population. She's an advisor on a brand new school newspaper. She advises me on my drama program and has been an invaluable asset. She's in large part responsible for the fact that our Western Association of Schools and Colleges WASC report recently completed resulted in a 6-year accreditation recommendation. We are confident this recommendation will succeed. All this to say, she's not responsible for this deficit. She is responsible for growth and academic performance. She's responsible in small and large parts of programs that help students connect to the school and thus desire to stay there. She's not responsible for this deficit would be a great loss to this district. And this is only one case. One, it is certain that other great educators will be terminated due to this budget crisis, even if we hold those responsible for it to account first. I know with our students, with our staff of talented educators, and with the community, stand with them to say this. It's not right. We need to fix it, but it has to start with those responsible for tragedy, not those responsible for recovery. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Devin. Dan Kearns?
Good evening, my fellow humans. I invite you to join me in a moment of prayer. The creator of all that is, whatever name we may address them by. Thank you for this opportunity of life. Thank you for this beautiful and amazing place in which we live. Thank you for the opportunity to educate our children. Please grant us the courage to ask the difficult questions, to stand up for ourselves, to reclaim our sovereignty, to reclaim control over the mechanisms which serve us. Grant those who are responsible for the shortcomings of our district to have the courage to take responsibility. Help us all to have accountability for our actions. And may the decisions and conversations that happen here tonight and in every meeting from here forward be for the highest and greatest good of our children. Amen. I would just like to talk about, I know that tonight we're gonna discuss teachers being let go in order to make up for financial problems that we're in. But you know what we're probably not going to discuss tonight is are the people letting go of disciplining the people who are responsible for this situation. It was already pointed out, we have more people that work in the business office than the districts that surround us. And they seem to be unable to follow their own policies and procedures. If you read the last 2 audits in a row, there are repeat offenses of not balancing accounts, of misappropriating funds, not following procedures. And then right below that, there are recommendations as to what can be done. These recommendations are like 1 to 2 sentences long, right? We're not talking about those. We're not talking about how we're going to implement these recommendations. We're not talking about how we're going to deal with the possible nepotism that is responsible for unqualified people holding these positions that have now let the entire district, and most importantly, our kids down. No, we're not gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about we just watched an incredible presentation about how this town, after all it's been through, the people are coming back, people are choosing to move back here. We have an incredible group of teachers that are doing amazing work for our children. And the children are going above and beyond, and we're gonna get rid of them, not the people who caused this problem. It's unacceptable. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Jennifer, the Ranger? Jennifer?
Not here.
Thank you. Brian Shermell.
Multi-million-dollar debt problem. These are the moments that test organizations just as they test individuals. They provide an opportunity for leader or leaders to showcase what they stand for, what their values are. It's easy to talk about our values. It's even easy to live by them when the days are easy and the times are good. But when things get hard, that's when we get the opportunity to show everyone in the most genuine and authentic way what our values truly are. In the face of this crisis, I caution against the urge to cut teachers and classified staff, disrupting the quality of education and the future of our students. Likewise, I caution all of us here in this room to not point fingers and to assign blame. This was not intentional. It was not nefarious. These were honest mistakes made by well-intentioned people trying to do right by our children. But public schools do exist to educate first and foremost, and teachers are the backbone of any school system. They directly shape the intellectual and personal growth of our students. Staffing cuts like the ones proposed can potentially jeopardize the academic achievement of our students. This crisis did not emerge overnight, and no one person or one thing is to blame. If only it were that simple. Well-intentioned mistakes made by good people, some of whom were learning on the job, whether it was in the form of unnecessary capital projects, unsubsidized transportation costs, spending on consultants, or unsustainable program expansions, they've all contributed to the current debt problem. Extracurricular activities, such as sports, clubs, and enrichment programs, unquestionably add value to a student's experience. However, these activities must not come at the expense of our core mission of public education. Instead of eliminating teaching positions and classified staff, I implore the district to explore alternative solutions. This could include restructuring of administrative cost, consolidating underused facilities, and reevaluating the sustainability of costly extracurricular programs. Shared services agreements, grant funding, and more accurate or experienced budget forecasting should be prioritized over solutions that compromise the classroom experience. As a young company commander in the United States Marine Corps, I dealt with fiscal austerity. In 2010, under the threat of sequestration, we had to train and prepare our Marines for combat, specifically for an approaching deployment to Afghanistan. The Budget Control Act of 2011 made our jobs even harder, as it did many in the federal government. We had to be prudent in our planning and creative in how we leveraged our resources. But the one thing we never did as a Corps was consider cutting personnel critical to our mission. We never deviated from our mission or our core values because we knew that if we did in training, we would certainly do it on the battlefield. If we truly value the future of our students, as I believe we all do here in this room, we must be prudent and work together. Short-term fixes that decimate the teaching workforce will have lasting consequences. Students will suffer, teachers will leave, and education outcomes will decline. Thank you.
Steve Blue. Stephanie. Yes.
I'm a little nervous. Hello, I'm Stephanie Blue, and I teach here at Greenville. This is my first year in the district, so imagine what's going on in my head right now. I was heavily recruited to come to this district for several years, and I finally made a decision to move leaving my position as a reading specialist and instructional coach behind. But to me, it was worth it because I'm a graduate of Greenville High School. I have a master's degree in curriculum and instruction. I'm certified in the science of reading, and I'm a reading specialist, instructional coach, and I was also part of a school improvement team that went and worked in schools that were taken over by the state. And I guarantee that this education, knowledge, and experience each educator in this district brings to the classroom every day. I've had the opportunity to work in other states and other districts, and I've never seen any district operate this way. I'm confused and a little disappointed in the leaders that run this district. Today, I would like to discuss the real victims of this financial crisis, and they're not adults. Although educators losing their livelihood, losing opportunities to pay into their retirement, and losing their insurance kind of makes them victims, but I like to focus on the kids. They are the true victims, our kids, everyone's kids. They are my top concern. Clearly, the DO believes that teacher layoffs will save more money than cutting positions at the district office. However, this will come at a great cost to the education of the students in our county. The children in our schools are the ones who will suffer the most from these budget cuts. With fewer teachers, class sizes will increase. Resources will be limited and academic support will be lacking. These are the future leaders of our community, and they deserve better than to be caught in the crossfire of financial mismanagement. It is imperative that we prioritize their education and well-being above all else to ensure a bright future for our kids and our district. It was stated when all of this began back in December that it was teacher salaries that caused this financial issue. However, after a little research, it also seems that many people at the DO took the raise as well. In fact, if you look close, someone had a $30,000 raise in 1 year. Do you know how many students that would support in a school year? It would support 2.5 students for a whole entire year. Every decision you make should be student-centered. Every decision I make is student-centered. That should be your focus. So I ask the board to please think about our children when you make decisions about our district. You have to know that there are some really dishonest and questionable things happening. And unfortunately, the true victims are the children and their futures. Thank you for listening.
Felicia? Anything neighbors, because honestly, before we have any other label, that's what we are. And that's how we should be coming together tonight and to move forward through things. We are one another's neighbors, and we are here with the concerns for students in this district. Our membership is frustrated by the uncertainty and turmoil in their lives because of decisions that were made by those in leadership that we have trusted to do their jobs in a transparent, fair, and competent way. We feel unheard, and it doesn't matter how many times we say it, time and again, our voice is continually shut down. Come on, we can do better than squeezing us in for 5 minutes. We stood in the cold for longer than that tonight. Can we please have a dialogue? Honestly, my only option of reading to you off of an iPhone is not a dialogue. The stakes are high. We want to work as a team with you, and we have requested that over and over again. And continually we feel locked out. Please tell us how our voices can be heard. We are so tired of trying. Honest dialogue should not be this difficult to have. We are tired of being treated like second-rate employees. We would like to meet you at the table. CSEA membership is being hit far harder than any other group,
and we are cheap. Our pay scale starts not much above minimum wage. Do not let anyone else tell you otherwise with a distorted and finessed fact about our retirement plan. Excuse me, sorry. Multiple CSEA employees are comparable to one district job. I have to say, $30,000 raise would pay a librarian salary for a year and a half. Students in our community rely on the nutrition I skipped. We are the first points of contact in the morning as students ride the bus to school, are served meals, and are greeted on safe and clean campuses. Students in our community rely on the nutrition provided by a kitchen by food service members. Transporting food from a centralized kitchen to outlining schools is a process that we have tried in the past. And we discontinued it because it was proven to be more costly than what we are currently doing. Why are we looking at laying off employees to go back to a system we already know is more expensive? Please consult the professionals in these positions about the logistics that would be needed to implement this plan. Our food service directly affects the students and their capacity to arrive at school fed and ready to learn. Please find cuts away from students. You are in control. We are looking to you for our guidance, leadership, and teamwork that we trust you with. We're trying desperately to reach you when we are running out of time. We are continually shut out of this opportunity to speak with you. You have the power to prove to our membership that you hear us, you support us, and you want to rebuild trust. We need you to hold accountability. We need you to make cuts away from students and to protect our vital services. Please provide the oversight that you know is necessary. In accountability, please keep the cuts away from students, and please start listening to us.
Crystal Williams?
Did I put the last one?
Yes.
Oh, no, it's not, sorry.
Yeah, I want to go in case anybody else has to do that.
Nikki Hammerich.
So, speaking in front of a crowd's not my strong suit, but I'm gonna do my best to get through this. Dear members of the board, those of you that don't know me, my name is Nikki Hamrick. I'm a resident of this beautiful valley, Greenville Parents Club Board President, and most importantly, a parent to Greenville students. I stand before you today to echo a lot of the concerns my fellow community members have spoken about here tonight. I know you have big decisions, frankly, life-changing decisions to make, and I can appreciate how heavy a load that is to bear. I don't take lightly the amount of time and effort it takes to make informed decisions in regards to the problem we're in and the district's budget problems. I would simply like to point out that the reason that we are in this position today is this perfect storm we find ourselves in is because of adult employees within the district office and the adults on this board. This place we find ourselves in is because this board and our district employees have not been properly performing in their jobs. I'm not here to say that one is more qualified than the other. That's your job. But I am here to say that it is by no fault of these kids that we're in this position. I ask you to remember that when making these tough decisions tonight and later this week and moving forward. The children of this valley have been dealt the most difficult hand. You've heard it before and you're going to continue to hear it because this is our life. From COVID to the Dixie Fire, to lack of housing, to people sleeping in travel trailers with no heat, to the cost of living and virtually no amenities in this valley. Again, by no fault of their own, we, Greenville, Indian Valley kids should not have to bear the burden of this district's shortcomings. In closing, I have just one question for you. Do these kids, our students, our littlest learners, deserve more loss? Please don't take away their teachers, their support staff, the wonderful people and women that work in that kitchen, the hardworking janitors and maintenance crew, the paraprofessionals who these students depend on. We do not need and should not have to suffer because of because of a poor job done by PUSD's business office and this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Crystal, would you like to?
Sure. I'll be real quick. I just wanted to reiterate that here at our staff site, or in Greenville Elementary, we have some phenomenal people working with us. We have 2 teachers that have a master's degree in education, one that has a CLAD, one that has an ELAM. If you don't know what that is, that means they can work with kids who have language disabilities and learning to speak English as a second language. We have people with 8 years of experience, 15 years of experience, 20 years of experience, and our kids just can't survive without them. Going back to split classrooms is doing a disservice to them. I went to Greenville Elementary and we had split classes then. I think I remember 1 year where I had a classroom where I wasn't in a split class. In order for our kids to keep improving and keep growing, we need to be able to give them the services that we need. Cutting paraprofessionals, where we were running bare bones as it is to meet IEP standards, is not going to cut it. We have to make sure that we are doing our best for our kids 24/7. We need to find different ways to get this money, and I know it's hard. We can figure out our hard costs, and I've mentioned this before. There could be a change in our busing system to get different buses, smaller buses, I don't care, figure something else out. Make our gas prices go down, something. What we just need to make sure that we are putting our kids in the entire district. It's not just our kids in Greenville, but Chester is gonna get hit. Portola is gonna get hit. Everyone needs to have the children in mind 24/7. Thanks.
If that concludes public input, we're going to move on to student achievement. Jessica?
It's just the resolution that is proposed for you guys to pass.
Okay. So this is for PUSD Resolution 1670, waiver of district science credit requirements.
I move to approve.
Leslie has moved to approve. Do I have a
Second.
second? Jolene has seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, number 12, this fiscal item around rate, we are going to table this until our next meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. Moving on for leadership. Andrea, you have a resolution for us.
Plymouth Unified School District and Plymouth County Office of Ed would like to recognize and honor women during Women's History Month. I will read the resolution and the board can approve it if they wish to. That resolution number 1669. Whereas the Plymouth County and Unified School District Boards of Education recognize the importance of celebrating the contributions that women have made to our nation's history. And whereas March is dedicated as Women in History Month, providing an opportunity to honor the countless women who have shaped our society, culture, and our world. And whereas women have played a vital role in every aspect of American life, from the arts and sciences to politics and business, and whereas the stories of women's achievements often go untold, and Women's History Month provides an opportunity to recognize and celebrate the many diverse and remarkable women who have made a positive impact on our society. Whereas the Women's History Month celebrates the many women who have contributed to society in a variety of ways, including but not limited to leaders, inventors, artists, activists, and writers. Whereas Women's History Month provides opportunities for students to learn about the remarkable accomplishments of women throughout history and to promote equality and justice for all individuals. Whereas the Plumas County and Unified School District Boards of Education recognize the significant contributions of women to our society and culture, and is committed to educating students about the importance of gender equality and diversity. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Plumas County and Unified School District Boards of Education acknowledge March as Women in History Month, and encourage all schools in the district to celebrate the contributions of women throughout history, encouraging all teachers to use this month as an opportunity to highlight the contributions of women in their respective fields and to inspire students to pursue their own passion, interest, regardless of gender.
Thank you, Andrea. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Chelsea made the motion to approve and Leslie is seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next section is policy updates.
Yes, as the board knows, CSBA attorneys write new policies as legislation is passed. These board policies keep us compliant with education code. We recommend that the board adopt this slate of policies and administrative regulations that are laid before you.
I'll move to approve as presented.
What are they?
No second.
Jolene has made the motion. You're asking what they are.
What are they
specifically?
specifically? Can it, is like their.
They're listed on the agenda, so I've read each and every one of these. I'll just say that out loud.
Most of them are just updates. A lot of them are updates and they are reviewed by CSBA. Most of them are just updates. They're all reviewed by CSBA, the California School Boards Association, and they go in and they wordsmith them to match the most recent legislation. And so a lot of these are just minor changes, one or two sentences that update based on regulations. So it's not, there's not, we've all read through these. There's not like any major, there's not new policy here. There's not any major changes. They're mostly just updates.
Okay. I saw transitional. I got freaked out for a
Oh, yeah,
second.
yeah,
I was like, what are you changing in my program?
Nothing.
All right, thanks for asking for clarity. First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Thanks, Cindy. All right, let's see, try not to miss anything. Item C, our superintendent search update. I don't believe we have anything more to report, Jim.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report on that item.
We need to
You just need to-
review the stakeholders.
I apologize. We need to take approval on the stakeholder panelists for the interview panel during the superintendent candidate interviews. That was an attachment.
I will move to approve the stakeholder panelist list.
Thank you, Leslie. We have a motion to approve the stakeholder panelists. Do I have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving to our consent item. Minutes from the 2/12/2025 board meetings. Do I have a motion to approve that?
I'll move to approve.
Jolene, move to approve.
I'll second.
Chelsea, second.
I abstain.
Any abstains? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. For the PUSD check register for the month of 2025, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Leslie made the motion,
I'll
Jolene seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Cindy, do you want to abstain from that?
Aye.
You-
Check register.
Oh, I would like to abstain.
Abstain, okay. Related to service contracts for PCOE. Do I have a motion to approve?
Right.
The county is information only. Thank you, Patty. For PUSD, is there a motion to approve the service contract?
Can I pull it up? Just give us just a moment.
Take your time. I believe it was just one item.
For Greenville Little League, I'll approve. Yeah, there's no amount on there. Is that, oh, that's just the MOU. Yeah, okay.
It's an MOU.
An MOU for Greenville Little League. and
For
yeah,
Greenville Little League.
Yeah. I'll
So
move to approve.
Jolene has made a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Leslie is seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I
I'm gonna abstain.
Cindy will abstain. All right, moving along to something more fun, field trips.
I'm going to approve.
Leslie makes the motion to approve. Do I have a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I feel like an auctioneer. Okay, moving on to donations. We received one donation.
This is a recurring donation, so I'd like to thank this person, the payroll deduction, so I really appreciate that. Recurring donation.
A recurring
So I move
donation.
To approve with gratitude.
Leslie moves to approve with gratitude. Do I have a second?
A second.
Jolene seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're moving on to personnel items. So the first item is personnel transactions with this agenda. For PCOE, it was an informational item, and for PUSD, there are some actions. Is this the HR agenda first?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to talk about the HR agenda first.
Yeah, I will move to approve the HR agenda, but I would like to table on the HR agenda, I would like to table items A2A and B1A. And motion to approve the rest of the agenda.
I'll second.
Leslie has made a motion. Jolene has seconded that motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
I'm sorry, which ones are you tabling?
A2A and B1A.
Was that attachment?
A1A, is it a different attachment?
No.
Yes, it's attached to the agenda online.
It's attached to the agenda online.
There's no names, but it's attached with positions.
Okay,
PUSD personnel agenda.
on the PUSD personnel agenda. I don't have it in front of me, or I would just read it to you all. I'm sorry. All right, we've lost track of where I mean.
You're at item B, that we're going into the resolution.
Okay, did we vote on that, Patty? You have our vote? Okay. All right, so before I go into the rest of the leadership. I'm sorry.
We didn't vote. So you got a first and a second, no vote? Cindy, did you want to abstain?
So that's what we're going over, just to kind of just go over what was on that list again, so
Okay.
give us just a moment.
Sure.
So that way you can visually see.
Yeah.
So we are looking. Recognitions, and we were doing this one. One, I'm sorry, 1A. Okay, so then we're saying we're going to approve all of that. There's not an option. Contract with
I have a question while we're waiting. Is item A1B still gonna be discussed tonight?
Just read what the item is, Dan. Go ahead.
It is, these items were approved by the PCOE superintendent. The PUSD action item. This agenda may include, but is not limited to, offers of employment for certified and classified staff. In addition, you will find resignations, a leave of absence, employee contract layoffs and athletes rationale, recruit and retain the most talented student-centered staff and invest in their professional growth. Yeah.
Are you talking about the county agenda? I just read this.
So it's under number 6.
PUSD.
Oh, that's just to say, yeah, that's a summary. It's just a summary.
That's just a thought.
It's an attachment online.
So what we're talking about specifically is an attachment. Did you,
I mean, if anybody, I can
let me see it just.
pass the computer around if they want.
Yeah, so, if you're on the website and you're on the agenda online, if you're under this item, it says personnel, and then there's attachments, you can click on PCOE and a personnel agenda comes up. USC, same thing will happen.
So specific to this,
It is on all. No, I mean, can you cast it so that everyone?
I could try. Yeah, I could try to cast it.
I'm just gonna say this really quickly. So what Leslie's motion was to table number 2A, which was the executive assistant to the superintendent. So we're not gonna place somebody in that position. And then to table, sorry,
Oh, you're good.
B1A, which is administrative human resources director. So we're tabling those two things.
Thank you.
Does that clarify?
Yes.
Okay,
guys
so that
still
was,
want me to
that was
cast?
the motion and the second.
To reference it again, yeah.
Yeah, certainly, we can work on that. Okay. Leslie made the motion, Jolene seconded. Is there any discussion?
Abstain.
Cindy's gonna abstain, all in favor, otherwise, aye.
Aye.
Did you get that, Patty? Or ayes, one abstention? Okay, so as we go into the rest of item 15, I'm gonna read something first. I'm gonna read it slow, and if anybody wants me to read it again, I'd be happy to. We now turn to item 15 regarding staff. Please note that the recommended layoff resolutions are included with this agenda item. We know this is a difficult topic, and it's not one that we've taken lightly. Before proceeding, I want to clarify some points with respect to the recommended layoffs. First, I want to make clear that the recommended staff layoffs are based on employee seniority as required by law. Employees who receive layoff notices will do so because of the order on their employee seniority list and not because of their performance or because of the site that they have been assigned to. Additionally, site locations were not considered during this layoff process. Consequently, some employees may be reassigned or transferred to different site locations at the conclusion of this layoff process to ensure that all site locations have appropriate coverage for next year. Lastly, I want to clarify that the layoffs do not become final until May. As such, there may be employees who receive a March 15th layoff notice that may be revoked prior to May 15th. So now I'm going to entertain a motion for PUSD Resolution 1671, reduction of certified staff for 2025 to 2026.
So I'd like to address the board before this motion goes through. I think you've heard from the public, right? And this is one of the things, there are other options. You do not have to decide to lay off the staff right now. It is incredibly frustrating. I mean, there are employees, our interim superintendent, Mr. Frost, a letter that he sent to the public was slandering the public and treating them like, what was it, creative ideas we supposedly have? Our creative ideas are in alignment with the audits. Why are we not talking about removing someone who's lying to the public? And we're honoring women this month? What about all the women that he disrespected by coming up with creative ideas that know more about what's going on than he does apparently? Like this right here, right now is where you have the option and the ability to not do these incredibly unfair, unethical, immoral things. Thank you for hearing.
Thank you for your comments, and I'm just going to read this last line again because I think it's important and potentially relative. I want to clarify that the layoffs do not become final until May. As such, there may be employees who receive a March 15th layoff notice that may be revoked prior to May 15th. Okay.
I just also it's really, imagine if your career was just kind of up in the air until some month in the future, right? We're talking about the people who sacrifice day in and day out to educate our children, to achieve, to guide them through the process that enables them to achieve incredible things like they talked about here. And it seems like they're being punished. They're gonna have to, for months, they're gonna have to go home every day and wonder whether or not it's disgusting to me that people who work this hard to provide our community with such an important thing are being treated like this. It is unfair, it is ridiculous that this is even being discussed when when doing the same exact thing to the people who are responsible for this situation has not even brought up once. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I would like to ask you guys on the matter of certificated and classified staff that you refuse to approve these requests and force our district to come up with better solutions because this. I'm going to tell you, I came from 20 years in the medical field. Not one day in my life in the medical field have I ever worked as hard as I work for these students. But if I'm on that list and I get a pink slip and you recall it in May, I'm already going to have another job. Yep. And that is what you are going to face if you approve these layoffs tonight. And as our board and being our representative, the voice for us, the community, and holding our district accountable, you need to step up and do that tonight. If you want us as a community to have faith in you and you to show us that you are transparent in all of your actions, then you need to listen to us and listen to our voices and what we want. We're not asking anything unreasonable. We are absolutely asking you to hold the district office accountable and make them look elsewhere for their cuts. And not in the direct place that is going to affect our students. There is not one.
Understandable that the reason we have this meeting now on March 12th is we have by contract a deadline to release any contracted employees, both classified or certificated, by March 15th. However, it's not just any year. And the financial impact of those layoffs and the distrust and everything that we have all been through this year, the financial impact of letting go of those people in no way touches the situation that we are in. And it sets us up for an incredibly, ridiculously, unimaginably more frustrating situation. And we're talking about, you know, how we feel at our jobs, that we do spend more time than we're paid for, that we do put more effort in than we could ever be paid for. And so for the board tonight to say, we don't feel at this time that the solution is to let go of anybody, unless there is another reason that we cannot justify a position. Say we have an extra teacher somewhere, which never happens in Clunes County. If we have an extra somebody, we can justify that just on its pure foundation, then we look at that. But to cut anybody from our direct student experience is unimaginable in this situation. I think it would be fair of the board to say, we don't feel that this solves our problems. And we would like the district office and the state investigator and the state to help us solve these problems in another way that does not impact the foundation of our students. I'm going to give an example because I also was in healthcare for 25 years, and I find healthcare and education to be a parallel situation in our country. They are required, necessary, fundamental, entitled experiences. And in 2008, when we had the great crash, I worked for a company when all these other companies were folding. This company took the moral high ground. They did not let go of any direct care staff. They did not let go of anybody who interfaced with the patients and their families. They let go of middle management. They let go of assistants to assistants. They, across the board, for all of their supervisors nationwide, all of their managers, all of their corporate people, they put a freeze on hiring and on raises and on bonuses. They took the hit. Do you know what they won the following year? Forbes Award for Business, because they did the right thing. I ask you to take situations like that into account and look at this opportunity we have to do the right thing for the people that we serve, our little people.
Thank you. Sure.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I haven't, I'm not speaking yet. So this sucks, right? This really sucks. And you all want answers and accountability, and I understand that. I can assure you that the board wants the same thing. And the process is happening and has been happening. We made major changes to operations back in September. There's obviously more to do to right the ship. And I can assure you, that we are taking those actions. And we look forward to more stability as we move forward and work through the process. I know that doesn't help any of you right now. But I just wanted to at least put that out there. My big concern, the state comes in here, and what you're seeing tonight is horrible. It's bad. But if the state comes in here, it could be 1,000 times worse. And so I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. If we take no action tonight, we are volunteering for receivership. They have basically highly recommended that we try to do this ourselves with your input. Over a lot of heartbreak, and if not, they will. And they will not hear from us, and they will look at us like numbers and not people. And they will take care of it themselves. And that's what we're up against tonight.
But then where is, the deadline is where that push is. So where have the discussions been for these last couple of months about where else to come from? Because that list does not touch the district office. That is where we're heavy. We should be presenting tonight that we also recommend, right? If we're gonna do this as a board, if we're gonna do this as a local entity, we need to be saying, yes, we have a deadline for this 15th. And so these are the cuts we're recommending. We are also recommending these cuts. We're not hearing that. That's why we're mad. We're not hearing anything else. We need to hear something else that's also happening, not just wait for somebody else to say so. That's why we're upset.
And all of the cuts are coming out of sites, all of them.
I just want to share something as a, we have to move forward. We all have to move forward, no matter what the outcomes are. And I've been pretty reserved during this whole process, because it is it's a subject for myself being born and raised here, going to school here, and choosing to stay here to teach. And I just want us to keep in mind when we do move forward, because we have to do that no matter what. We need to think about student achievement collectively, and we need to think about it like I think about it, like any teacher thinks about it. We meet students where they are. Okay, we get curriculum, we have grade levels that we teach, but that's not all that we do. Okay, we find their zone of proximal development, that area where it's still difficult. It's going to be hard for them, but we meet them there. We have high expectations for them, but the goals that we set for them are attainable. And so I'm asking you, as we collectively move forward as a community, as a school board, as members of the district office, that we collectively and collaboratively move forward, and that you meet us here where we are. We are rural, okay? We have challenges. We need resources and tools, and we are those resources and tools for our students. And I want you to see us as that, and I want you to think that way. Student achievement collectively moving forward, no matter what happens tonight. I'm on board to do that, but it needs to be a conversation, and it needs to be centered around students and meeting them where they are.
So I want to clarify, we could certainly do this in reverse order because I've heard that there's nothing from the district office, but there is a reduction of administrative personnel, number 2526. And I thought it was 1.5 FTE, but I can't remember, Missy, off the top of my head without in front of me. It's one.
One and a half.
Oh, and then,
That's just not being filled.
I'm sorry.
So how many FTE are coming out of sites?
100%. Super, like, the cuts are coming the closest to the kids. And so that's the bottom line is, I haven't followed this like as closely as I did during 7-Eleven, but it's kind of funny how the cuts are really coming the closest to the kids, and it's like, it just doesn't make any sense regardless of how you look at it.
1.5 position.
We could have made a plan that worked.
So the ones that are
Have some
listed,
accountability, we shouldn't do that.
the ones that are listed on there is a custodian, which the custodian in the district office doesn't affect children, but that's one piece of it. And then the administrative is because the assistant superintendent is going back to being a principal and it's not being filled. But that's not a cut. That's not a cut, and that's why everyone's upset because it's,
it is a cut. We're not gonna pay.
you're not filling it, but it's not a cut.
For that position.
We're eliminating that position from the district office.
So, for how much that, like, what is the recommended? I think it's like 8 to 100 teachers on the state of California website. And what do we have, like maybe 135 teachers? I don't know. But there are like 80, what's the number, 40 at the district office? Our proportion is way off. And we're talking about like teacher and cut or certificated and classified cuts. It's like blows my mind.
Thank you.
I mean.
So you stated that you guys are afraid to vote no on this because if the state comes in, then we're just treated as a number.
We're not afraid. I'm not saying that we're afraid. I'm asking the question, would you rather that we do this today?
No.
Something,
No.
hang on, that's not the end of the sentence. If we don't do this today, which can be rescinded, it buys us time. And it shows good faith to the state that we are trying to right our own ship. And in the meantime, we can strategize, we can have conversations. But we are up against a deadline, as you know, in 2 days, and I agree, that's gonna put some real uneasiness to a lot of people. I get that. But it buys us the opportunity to continue to strategize and figure this out. Otherwise, if we don't show some type of good faith effort, that's considerable. They're not looking for baby cuts. They're looking for hard line cuts. They will come in, they will do it for us.
Makes twice what I make with a master's degree, with no education, twice what I make.
District position.
One position.
There's an expectation that there's gonna be cuts across the board. Right now, that's not the case.
We're fearful that that won't go through into effect. Like this will happen, but then the district would just be like, oh, we're fine. We put us in this position, but they're not gonna touch us. That's how we feel right now. That's why we're getting the way that we are. So it's really frustrating to move through this, and I understand hard cuts have to be made, and I understand that the people that are gonna get those pieces could possibly get brought back in May. And some of us will be like, okay, well, I guess I'll wait and see what happens. But then what if those teachers are not here and now we don't have teachers to teach our kids? That's the hard part.
It's so hard to get good teachers to come here anyway.
I mean, if you want
Right?
to show
It's
them,
so hard to begin with
if you
together.
want to show them good faith, show them this recording, show them that you're actually listening to what we're saying, and that you're going to make a plan that actually hold people accountable.
If I'm at the district,
We're gonna lose people, we're gonna lose good people, good educators.
if I'm an auditor at the state and I have auditing in my history, and I'm looking and I'm saying publicly on a state level, we are the most concerned about Plumas because we're not quite sure what's happening. There's finessing. The state is distrusting us. So yes, we have to take action. But if they're looking at that there was a problem here, our schools are not failing. Our teachers and our paraeducators are not failing. Our cafeteria workers are not failing. The district office failed. The district office, the market. Deadline to prove to the state we're doing something. That's our contract deadline for you to say, we're gonna let some of y'all go. Maybe.
Right.
But to prove integrity, to prove a shift that we are a district that actually could stand unified,
the Plymouth Unified School District, we could stand unified as a community and a board and a district office to take responsibility with some integrity, some transparency, and some level of honesty to say, we recognize our problem is here. We are gonna cut money from here because this is where the problem happened. We actually would like some help from the state so we can do this right going forward. We don't wanna touch our kids. That's our job. That's what we want. We don't want this to affect our kids, and it will. We are a bare bones staff all the way across our county. No matter where you go, walk into any school, all of us are bare bones.
Have to vote the district staff. And then ask the state to give us guidance on how to.
Yep.
And so you had a resignation of the HR director. You chose to not accept the resignation, which is $200,000. Hey, that's a good position. Why don't you accept that now?
I have to say that if you look around the room, anyone wearing the dark blue shirts tonight, we also are operating, showing up to work the first day of work and throughout this entire year without a contract that we have signed for this year. We have come to the table month after month after month in good faith to negotiate and settle this contract. Imagine the compounded anxiety that we are feeling with exactly what you're saying, Jolene. I understand the state coming in can change everything. We are sitting without our contract signed for the job we started doing in August. We have come to you and asked for you to work with us, and we can't get the job done. I'm sorry, our frustration boils over here as a community. When we hear about when the state gets here, it's going to be worse. It's already being worse for us. We can't get signed the things we need signed. I know worse could come. I'm not denying that, but I'm saying you have the power to take steps to stop the damage. Why aren't you taking those steps?
If I may, I just want to offer my gratitude to the board for deviating from your standard procedures and having this conversation with us. Thank you for talking this out with us. We, as the community, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And, right, thank you for that. And I just want to say, like, I think, if I understand this right, and I'm just a guy, so I might not, but if the state is gonna step in, if they don't see some sort of responsible, fiscally solvent plan, some sort of action taken by you guys, right? But not just any action, like fiscally responsible, moral and ethical action, I would think. If you lay off a bunch of teachers, you're cutting an expense that is relatively small. And you're still gonna have the problems that you have, and you're gonna negatively impact the kids. If you cut administrators, which we have way more than anybody else does, right? Then you're gonna save even more money without negatively impacting the kids. And I would like to, I mean, of all the people in this room, I probably have the least amount of trust in the government, right? But I would like to think that if you showed them a plan, you said, look, I know we're up against a deadline, I'm really sorry. Something came up, and now we're trying to we realized we were about to screw the pooch, and now we're trying to do the right thing. And we want to come up with, would you please give us an extension so we can come up with a plan to restructure our struggling, failing system so that we can not negatively impact the kids, and so that we can have a solid plan to move forward with in perpetuity, right? Not just like a Band-Aid on this. I would like to think that they would grant you that and work with you. And if not, then it's time for all of us to go to that meeting and do the same thing there. Right? Thank you very much.
You can always extend administration firings too, right?
Dan, thank you. That's exactly what Jolene was talking about. This is gonna take time to find the best way forward and to do it collectively. And so I think that is what we're trying to get to right now, is to just buy us some time, give us a chance to meet with the state folks, talk through these things. I have a list on my phone of things that pop up in my head during the day where I think we could make cuts. And I'm putting it in my phone, and these are things that are not classroom, not teachers. These are things that I've thought about that have happened over the last few years that I think we could get rid of and save this district some money. So that's what we need, is like collective working on this, but it's gonna take time. We can't do that right now.
Then maybe just ask for more time. I guess that's what I'm saying. I don't know how to
We are.
fix that.
Can you tell us why there weren't any cuts in the district office? But there were cuts to staff at school sites? So like, why wasn't there district office cuts?
It's super weird.
What is the reason? What is the reason?
It's
Can I ask?
on a
what
different time frame.
The layoff?
Well, that's not fair to us if we, how is that equitable?
Patty.
Organizational chart that many of you have requested in the last 2 weeks is the County Office of Education and the Unified School District. Many of those people that you want to eliminate are not employees of the school district, and it would not save the school district anymore.
And we don't have the authority over those people. And we don't have the ability to take any action on county employees.
But isn't this within the County Office of Education Board?
Yes, but there's limited.
Yes.
So how do we not, how do you?
But
not
there's
have-
things
We don't vote on the
over.
personnel agenda. We don't vote on certain.
Yeah, but
The county superintendent, Andrea.
Andrea.
Andrea, Sarah. Well, then the process seems to be broken then, because it's not fair to, like we've all said, to put these people's lives and their livelihood on the line when we're working so hard and everybody's all said that so clearly. And it's a breakdown in the process then, because then the same people and the same thing are trying to fix the problem that was kind of created by them.
Yeah.
And I'm not, but for all of us are a breakdown in communication, but why, it just doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
You know, so can't we,
So who's the superintendent's boss then?
So could I,
and what about his question there? What happened to the resignation of
HR.
Well, yeah, what happened to that? Why is that not going forward?
there are a lot of questions like that, and it's no surprise to me that my neighbors are so upset, because these are things that should have been discussed for the last 2 months, rather than the next 2 months. But they haven't been, and so people in this room are upset because now it feels like this decision is just pushed down their throats and they have no chance to say anything or have any influence. So I would hope over the next 2 months that you would have some meetings with us and allow people to help you work through figuring out the best ways to make these cuts. The other thing, though, that people, I don't know, you said you don't care if the state comes in, but 30 years ago, when this board went through this the last time and they didn't make the right fiscal decisions, the state did come in and we sat here and watched the board listen to the audience and say, okay, we're gonna do what you say. And the person at the end of the table who came in from the state, let them go ahead and do that. And when it was all done, he just said, I rescind that action. Because the board no longer had any opportunity to have any power, the state just did whatever it wanted. And when the state looks at little tiny schools and they say, well, these numbers don't make sense, they just make cuts. I think as a board tonight, you have to pass this action because you have 2 months now and you have to put in front of them the fact that you did the fiscal thing that's responsible. But give us the next 2 months to work with you so that we can eliminate as many of those layoffs as possible and find other places to cut rather than the teachers and the classified people.
Yeah, and Kest, you'll remember this, and some other people in the room will as well. A few years back, I don't remember how many, we were financial difficulty as well, comes and goes, but, we had a budget advisory committee, which was made up of community members and folks, so I think that could be something we could look at again, to help us get that input.
We passed that tonight?
Pardon?
We passed that tonight?
No, it's not an agenda.
I just want to make sure though, that meeting doesn't become the foundation. Because what happened in the foundation meetings is that stuff was approved and people put input, and Kess was even there, and he said, I think the next agenda item, this needs to happen, and then it never went through and it never even made the minutes. So like, for the community, yes, this has to happen, we get that, we knew that we have to have all this stuff happen before the state gets here, but we also want to make sure that you're not gonna go back on your word. Like,
Agreed.
you're not gonna make a thing and say, yes, we're gonna come to the table, we're gonna meet with you guys, and then 2 minutes later, we're still in the dark.
Agreed.
And I had a quick question then. So if we're not in charge of the superintendent's office, who is then in charge of all these people who kind of mess up the numbers, who is in charge? Who do we need to go to say, hey, those staff should be reduced, then we should get that money put towards the schools? Who's in charge of that?
We haven't been asked.
Yeah, who's in charge of
Okay,
that?
Let me repeat though, they're completely separate. So when I worked for the Office of Education. Okay, that's a completely separate thing. What the state is asking for us to do is the district. It is not the Office of Ed. So making cuts there, while it may need to be done, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that doesn't solve our problem. They're asking us to make cuts in the district. They are not demanding that we make cuts in Office of Ed at this time. So this is why we're taking these steps today, and we will look at everything. Just like we brought up just now, we vow to look at everything and to advise, but we are not in charge of the Office of Ed.
Separate pots of money.
We are a board for it is completely two sets of money. And in
Why
big
are they so
districts,
intertwined?
well, because we're a single. So in big towns, like where I'm from, you'll have one Office of Education and they provide services to hundreds of schools and multiple districts.
Right.
We have one district in this county. So, and we have one Office of Ed. And when I worked as a grant writer for all of you, I wrote grants and they affected all of you. I didn't pick and choose which schools. But we are a single, and there's a bunch of us. When we go to meetings, we have meetings just with singles, because we're weird. It's a different way of doing business, but the pots of money are very specific. And
That I do know.
we as a board do not hire or fire employees of the Office of Ed. One person does that, and that's the person you all get to elect. That's why that one person is elected. This board hires a superintendent. So we are his boss or her boss, and everything that falls underneath that comes before us, but not the Office of Ed. And while it may need to be done, I'm not denying that, it doesn't solve our problem right now with the state being inches away from us.
And I do hear you on all of that, and I understand the difference between the two entities. But what seems to be happening, this comes back to the transparency of the district and the board to the community, is if it didn't go well in PUSD, then they're blaming it on PCOE. And I'm just telling you what we hear. And then, oh, well, if it's a POC issue, then all of a sudden it's over here. And so to me, while they're separate entities, they're extremely intertwined. So I don't think we can call them separate. But whether the cuts are made at PCOE or PUSD, regardless, what we're asking is it in good faith, it should look equal. That's what we're trying to say.
Thank you.
I hear that.
And why are we not accepting the HR resignation, the director of HR resignation tonight? Why are we not?
No, we can't discuss
We
that.
can't discuss that.
Because it's a personnel.
Because being a personnel. Thank you for asking the question.
What was the answer? They can't say. Oh, they can't say. Oh.
I appreciate it. If we can't fire people or lay off people, right, from the district, maybe we could rescind some of those raises or even do salary cuts or
something to make.
Chanel.
I was just curious, who came up with the list that's been now put out on social media of the amount of layoffs per position? Is that you guys, or is that coming from the district office and suggesting that those layoffs?
The resolutions, where they come from.
Right, so Jim, in connection with site leadership, you came up with those.
Process.
The question was the process to come up with the positions that are listed in the resolutions. Why don't you take this?
What we did is gathered our leadership team together.
What we did is gathered our leadership team together, which consisted of our principals and our department chairs, like head of maintenance operations and head of food service and those. And we went through a process where we had people identify potential cuts in their domain and identify potential cuts in the overall district operation. And through that process, we came up with a list of cuts that are reflected here tonight in these board resolutions. Some of these are fluid, and I appreciate the gentleman's comments there. Some of these are fluid and will change over a period of time. But the amount of cuts needed here is so large that if you just eliminated the entire district office, everybody, it would not be even close to enough. Wouldn't even be close to enough money.
Don't believe that for a minute.
And so we have thoughtfully, and I appreciate our colleagues here, our leaders, who came up with that. It's a difficult process. We're looking at 4 teacher cuts district-wide, and we're looking at some more cuts. Obviously, the statement was true. There's more classified reductions than there are teacher reductions. Although I think some of those are going to be pretty severely modified as we move along. And also the process of cutting at the district office is not over. We are taking direction from our state advisor who is advising us right now. And there will be some more cuts at the district office. And I think when this process comes to a close, the highest percentage of cuts is going to be from the district office, percentage-wise. But then again, they're not as large as what the teacher group would be or the classified group would be.
Why wouldn't it start there?
I would like to know, so what, as far as I know, we're like over budget by 2.7-ish million. That the amount of money we're looking for, is that it?
No, and that's one part of the problem. We are deficit spending probably around, you're pretty close. We're getting hard numbers on that as we work with FICMAT and all of that. We're getting those hard numbers for the deficit spending. However, what took place is that there were interfund transfers from things like the required reserve, from other funds in the district, borrowing from other funds, and those funds need to be paid back. And so when well,
We don't need to know.
I do know, but I don't, but they're personnel issues, and I don't want to get into those personnel issues. But we have to pay some back, and that's where the state's going to advise us. So this is still a fluid process right now. They're going to advise us what we need to pay back, how we need to pay it back. And if the state decides that they need to loan the district money, which I would tell you, I think there's a pretty good chance of that. That's my opinion. I think there's a pretty good chance of that, to be real square with you. Then they are going to come in and they will call the shots. The board will be a figurehead board, and they will make the decisions. I will be gone at that point because they will ship somebody in to take my place. and to make those decisions.
Chance of avoiding receivership if we accept this right here.
No.
It's our only chance.
What is our chance if we do that?
Hypothetically, if you accept these cuts now, how much will it make?
I think if we accept these cuts now, we'll solve problem one, and that's the deficit spending. We'll solve that problem. That will be a tremendous thing. Then the state will come in and make a long-term resolution and reorganization plan for us. They will develop that plan. And I think that plan is going to be something where we can take a lot of community input and at least have the community's comments on that plan.
Can you share with us what our deficit spending is and what the total amount of these cuts is? Can you give us those figures? How does laying off of direct staff compare to our deficit spending?
I can give you some of that, and I can give you only in round numbers. That's why we have FCMAT involved, because they're kind of peeling back layers of the onion of our spending patterns and all the things that have occurred over the past. I am estimating from what I hear that our deficit spending problem is probably between $2 and $3 million somewhere. It is probably about 2.5 to 2.7 million. But again, that's a deficit. That's a guesstimate. We will have harder numbers probably within the next week, as at the last board meeting, Mr. Shemwell, our advisor, came and introduced himself to the community and to the board. And he is the one that's working on this with FCMAT and advising us. So this is the first really round of cuts that gets us our budget stabilized. What they do with paying back those loans back to those funds is a different thing. And I think there are certain rules regarding that, but I think the state has a lot of leeway in how we do that. But whether they come in and give us a loan, then they kind of take over running the district.
But so the second part of my question was the collective money that we are now saving by cutting these positions
Right.
that are outlined on the agenda tonight. What is that dollar
About $2,500,000.
for those? For
The total cuts, not just the layoffs.
I'm talking about the layoffs. The people, the direct people who interface with the students, what dollar value is attached to that?
I would say the total dollar amount of the layoffs is somewhere about $1.8 million.
So does anybody in this room make that, I'm not seeing that. It's not logical to me, it doesn't match.
Well-
It doesn't match.
Jim, I have a question. Two questions, actually. I understand that the state statute for layoff teachers and classified is March 15th. That's a hard deadline. That's statute. There's no getting around that.
Right.
I understand that. Does it still apply to district employees if FCMAT comes in and decides that additional cuts are needed?
That is a great question. I would think, off the top of my head, I would think the answer is yes, that they have a the State Department of Finance has quite a lot of latitude in what they do and how they require us to pay back these funds and that sort of thing. And I think that's something that I don't know if it's negotiable or not.
I have a second question before I let you go.
Okay.
Where's the 23-24 school audit report? That should have been filed with the state, whether it was ready to be presented to the board or not.
I believe that is coming up to be presented to the board.
It was
Or is that
reported
the
last
20
week
is that
that
the
it would be in April.
22?
That was presented at the special board meeting?
No.
It was reported, yeah.
Yes.
That was the 22-23.
That's correct for approval.
Last time.
I'm asking for
The
last
23-24.
Yes, that should have been filed with the state December 15th.
I believe that the board is going to approve that this month. And then it will be filed with the state.
Is there any way we can see that ahead of time, being that it is public record?
I will get back to you on that.
Thank you.
So clarification, is it done? Is the audit complete?
No.
No,
Oh,
it's
okay.
not quite
Okay.
complete. It's not quite.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought, it wasn't gonna be done until
No.
April.
I have another question. Why is it not complete when this December 15th is also a state statute?
Right, I believe there was a approved request for a waiver to have that an extended amount of time.
And is that at the fault of this unified school district, or is that at the fault of the auditors not doing their job on time?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know.
Thank you, Alicia.
Yeah.
All right. What are we gonna do?
I'm not voting, so I don't. Because honestly, I think we're, sorry.
So being the new kid on the block, not to say that I don't like the band, but point being, I already knew how I was voting tonight, and to where I was 100%, I was struggling with this entire process, I gotta tell you. So, and I really appreciate how many people have reached out to me and to share their thoughts and concerns. And but to be honest, I am very concerned about the state coming again, no matter which way we go. And I also feel very strongly about, as much as we can, identifying the entire package. And I do feel that there has not been as much information that could be available for us to see the entire picture. So whether the rest of the board, and I don't know how anybody else is doing, because we don't talk, that's one thing, is it's really hard because we can't share how we all feel 100%. And so I don't know where anybody else is going to be. And but I do feel I am not going to motion to approve. So.
I am going to make a motion. I will make a motion for the first resolution 1671. For the primary reason that I feel like this is our way forward with the least amount of trauma to our folks, even though it is a lot. I just feel like the state is going to be way, way worse. And for that reason, I will make this motion.
I'll second. I'm not ready to surrender yet either. I'm just not. I'm still in it. I still want to fight. I'm not surrendering. So I will second that motion.
All right, I have a first and I have a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
All right, that was for 1671.
And then you heard the abstain, by the way, because we said at the same time. Sorry. Thank you.
All right, a resolution for 1672.
I'll move to approve.
Jolene moves to approve.
I'll second.
Leslie seconds. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
You're gonna abstain? or
I'm gonna
oppose?
abstain.
Resolution 1673.
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain? Opposed?
Sorry.
Cindy's abstaining.
So how are we gonna work this out together? Like, is there gonna be a meeting that we can all come to and talk about? Are you guys gonna post more information so we can see the whole picture and come together with ideas? Should we set a date? Can we get a date on the calendar that, hey, we're gonna have something by such and such date?
So we're gonna learn more about the state in their action, but yes, I think that all the ideas you suggested are fabulous. And we certainly are committed to hearing from you and working on those together. For sure.
It feels like 2 months is not a long time.
It's not a long time.
So
Every
it seems
moment
like we
counts.
want to meet again in 2 weeks or something to try and brainstorm.
Yes.
Or maybe at least have information at least that
The state said we'd know about the receivership within a week to 2 weeks.
We should know about the receivership within a week to 2 weeks. So that will help us come up with a timeline, but I agree, there's not a moment post haste to wait. So I would encourage you all, don't wait for a meeting to suggest your ideas.
I think what a lot of people are saying is we're not getting the whole picture. We're not seeing all the things that you guys are seeing when you're putting together these cuts.
Okay.
So maybe you guys could put together kind of a synopsis that kind of shows, here's what the numbers are, here's how we're approaching this. And here's some other ideas, and then we can come together maybe as individual communities and brainstorm and then get back to you.
Thank you.
Just a thought.
I like it.
How much you just said, I'd say that like a huge part of the problem that I have and why I appreciated Chelsea was I feel like there's a lot missing and,
There's still a meeting going on, can we keep the chatter in the back down, so the board can conduct their business, please?
Thanks, Dan.
I feel like the information about PCOE and PUSD and the dollar amounts tied to each job up there at that level, and the dollar amounts tied to the certificated and classified staffs, those numbers didn't make any sense, and I'd like to see the PCOE and PUSD numbers. I guess they're available because they're public.
Transparent California, you can go
Yes,
online and look them
but
up.
that would be a good
Yeah.
thing for our board to put out and show dollar amounts, because I didn't feel like those numbers that didn't drive with what I know and what I've seen.
I agree with you.
So that would be something that as the community, as Coons County, would help me go, okay, like I understand that, this is where the money's at, classified and certificated, but I don't know that I don't believe that is 100%. That doesn't, I don't.
And I think that we all, like echoing what Loren said and we're not saying, we don't need to cut any money. We're not oblivious. We're a very intelligent community. We understand that things need to happen. Something needs to change. Why you're gonna, the more resistance, there's more resistance because we are very rightfully frustrated that we don't have the transparency. We should have all this information. These are our tax dollars. This is our community. These are our schools and our kids. So as the board, if going forward, we could please have your advocacy to work for us as a liaison between PUSD, PCOE, and the community. Get us, work hard to get us, demand, ask those hard questions. When this all happened, my first thought was, isn't the board asking hard questions? So we ask you now, ask the hard questions, demand the hard things, don't give up. Tell us what we don't want to hear, we need to hear it, but then listen to us so that we can all come together to find the solution and trust us that we understand. Life is hard. If you're gonna talk to anybody about life being hard, talk to Greenville. Man, do we know it, and man, can we bring it. We want to bring it feeling heard, and feeling like we have information to make informed decisions. Why we want to have equity. We want to understand, how does PCOE, if PCOE has this pot of money and PUSD has this pot of money, why? Why is there more money here that's available and to fund the district office when we're having to sacrifice at boots on the ground? Why is that? Do we need to address a system? Do we need to say to the state, we need to change this? Our kids need this money. Our teachers need this money. We want to make this money go here. How do we make that happen?
Are there any workarounds?
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, we should be looking into that. Are there workers? They have that many staff doing a job that's not so good. We should be looking, is there any way to get access to some of that funds? Is there any precedent for it?
And if
You
the
know?
state has lateral, if it's up to this, we need to come to them with an intelligent choice that says, hey, we want to service our kids. That's our mission. We are looking at how do we do this? What are the rules? How we ask those questions. That's what we're asking.
varies. Who makes the decisions on the pink slips? Are you guys involved in that process or is it just the district office?
For the school district, we do.
But, and it's a seniority system though, as.
That's what I was gonna add.
Yes, as
It's
just,
based on
it's
seniority.
not like, it's
So we'll-
FTEs, not people's
picking
names,
those.
us picking names.
I know it's based off the date of hire, but
Right.
there's like 15 of us that are hired at the same time. So that's why I was like, who's gonna be making those choices? Or they're hard choices.
Certainly.
It's, yeah, it's.
So it's only 3 layoffs. It said 3 on the,
So it's just like 3 teacher layoffs.
in the whole district. Yes, so there's about 15 people hired on the same day.
Can you tell us how many from Greenville?
We haven't, it doesn't work that way because of all your bumping rights and everything. It's just FTEs. It's not places or names. It's just positions. And then you do your shuffle thing. That's why we understand that you have access to your seniority. So you didn't even see
The
that.
bumping
You
system,
saw that.
I've never heard of this. I've never even been in a district where you have to have layoffs. So this is my third district that I've worked for and I've never experienced this. So I'm like,
It's not names and places. It's a number. It's an FTE. And then that all shakes out based on your agreements.
So I was laid off in the early 2000s and twice, and I always came back. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they can, they can extend the layoff.
Yeah.
I was laid off in 2020 and I thought like, I'm not doing this again. I said, I was laid off in 2020. I felt like heck to come back in Greenville a year later after the fires.
So I'm gonna adjourn the meeting, but I'm willing to sit here and talk to anybody as long as you want tonight. So
Do we need to add now any future agenda items though? Like, in other words, if we wanted to be able to vote on something at the next meeting, do we have to add it now?
No, you have all the way up until we post it.
Okay,
exactly. Right, so our meeting is adjourned. Like I said, I'll be willing to sit here and if anybody wants to converse longer.
I'll first. All in favor, aye.
I just got a recommendation. When you guys do the audit, get the person who did the audit. Did you guys do that? I know, that's what we do. Yeah.
People are just thinking that.
I know.
Okay.
How are you? Not looking for it. Did you have it in the room? I just said about.
Every time I get
Sorry.